Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Tonight, we are coming to you with another special episode. We have with us today Supriya Ganesh. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, it's Supryia, and I'm so happy to be here. I love talking to fans of the show. I feel like a fan of the show myself. Get to like nerd out with people. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Well, we are
Cool.
super thrilled to have you with us and appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. So, I know we're limited on time, and so we're going to just go ahead and dive right into questions. Mandy, you want to start us off?
I do. Something we've found interesting about the people we've interviewed so far is how many have connection to medicine. We see from your background, you studied neuroscience and women and gender studies at Columbia University and scored in the 99th percentile for your MCAT. So I want to point out here, I don't know, did you know that Alex Metz, she went to Columbia and was also going to do medicine?
No way.
Yeah. She didn't end up going to medical school, but she graduated from Columbia.
I had no idea. That is so crazy. And I wonder if we like accidentally crossed paths at one time.
I wondered about that too. Yeah, because I think you were about the same age or close anyway.
Yeah, I had no idea. That is so interesting. I feel like we talked about literally everything.
That's so funny. Did you know that so many of the people on the show, like everybody that we've talked to so far, in some way, shape, or form, has had some connection to the medical community?
I did. I mean, I knew that with a lot of the background artists, there were a lot of people who had experience working in labs or working as techs. And then we had specific people on set who were both actors and nurses and also actively working in the ER as we were like filming our show.
Yeah.
You could tell it really made a huge difference. But the first question we have is, what made you decide to forego med school and pursue a career in acting?
It's super interesting. I think I always knew that I wanted to be an actor. Like I always was taking part in like school plays. I always wanted to perform. But my parents being South Asian immigrant parents kind of were like, don't do that. That's like scary to us. And like, I get it, like I think they just want to make sure that their kid's safe and their kid's good. My family like experienced a lot of social mobility in my parents' generation. I think they just didn't want me to experience any of the struggle that they did.
They don't want you going backwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes people like villainize like, Asian immigrant parents for like how hard they push their kids. And sure, there's like a conversation to be had there, but I mean, the reason they did that was because they wanted me to be safe. And in a weird way, I'm kind of glad that they did because I feel like it really rounded out everything I could do. And so when I did come back to acting, it really came as like a no, I really do think this is what I'm supposed to be doing because I had the opportunity and the skill and the ability to do literally anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried doing everything else and it just never really felt like the right fit. Acting's always felt very therapeutic for me. It's always felt like an exercise of empathy, which is something I care so much about. And yeah, I mean, it always just felt like the right move. I think I just moved away from it because I also was scared.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not the same at all, well, I won't say at all, but grew up very poor myself. And like my parents had to really overcome a lot to get even to lower middle class. And so the expectation, when you have somebody who is high achieving, you become like the poster child of everybody's dreams and hopes and wishes. It's a lot of pressure. But like my daughter is first generation college student in our family. She just graduated last semester. And like, I tried really hard not to put too much pressure on her to do that. But I can't say that like she didn't have the pride of her entire family on her shoulders. So I do understand why your parents wanted you to find something safe, recession proof. And
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like looking back, I'm like, thank God, because I do think it's not a coincidence that so many people on our show have like some experience with the medical field. I think that was why I was able to bring so much of my background to the role because it just takes less time for me to break down a set of sides because I just have like an intuitive understanding of what is on.
Right. We talk a lot about how much we love lifelong learners and people like you talked about being well rounded. I just think that, that's one of the things that I've always tried to instill in our kids is just it's not so much about what you do. You never know when your education is going to where life is going to take you, that you're going to need the knowledge that maybe seemed superfluous, but all of a sudden you're in a situation where you've got that. And that's the beauty of an education. But a lot of people we talked to, like, it never came up in the interview process. Did it come up with you when you were being cast?
I was pretty upfront about it because I remember I saw like the set of sides, and my first audition scene was it was the trauma scene in episode 1 where I'm leading the trauma of the woman who got pushed onto the train tracks and
The degloving. Ugh.
the degloving. I immediately noticed how accurate the medicine was. It was
Yeah.
genuinely the first time where I was auditioning to play a doctor. I just noticed that I didn't have to like forget my background. Like I could
And
actually
pretend you're in a different world where medicine is completely different, right?
different. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh God, I have to tell them. And I had just taken the MCAT because I was thinking about going to medical school that year because of the strike and everything.
Mhm.
I don't really know what I'm doing.
Right.
Why am I doing this? And so I'd just taken the MCAT and I told them. And I wasn't really expecting them to really care because in the past when I brought it up when I was auditioning for doctors, people wouldn't really care. But
Mhm.
this team, because of how involved in the medical field they are, immediately knew what I was talking about, and they were incredibly interested in it. And
So do
yeah,
you think that played a part in why you got the role?
um, I mean, I think there were a lot of things I brought in addition to that, but I certainly think it helped. Like I think they saw I was going to be like an asset.
It wasn't necessarily that they were looking to hire someone who had that background, but the fact that you had that background is
For
what
sure.
made you able to play the role as well as you did. And you killed it. Like, I'm a little bit starstruck, but it's because Becky and I are just in this climate right now. We are so thirsting for compassion and kindness. And I also have to tell you, I think that Indian women are the most beautiful women on the planet, hands down. And so just your beautiful face and just how compassionate and caring Dr. Mohan was, it was just, she really stuck out for us. And you just did a great job. And we're so glad that they highlighted some empathy so much in this season. And I love the storyline of the back and forth between how much time, because doctors are so rushed these days, that, Dr. Mohan kept pushing for her patients to be given holistic medicine instead of just being rushed through. It was really nice to see. And I also want to say, this isn't in our questions, but you actually already answered the second question I was going to ask before I asked it about whether or not that it played into it. But at any rate, I just watched one of my big loves is Law and Order SVU. I don't watch a whole lot of television, but I love Olivia Benson. And I forgot that you were in an episode because I knew I had seen you from somewhere. And when I saw that, I went back and I watched your episode again. So I have a mini side question before we move on. How did it feel to be a patient in that? Well, first of all, like, how traumatic was that role?
We shot in Central Park at night for the exterior shots of When They Find Me. It was definitely a difficult.
Was it really raining like that?
It wasn't raining. They were like dripping water like on me. It was
Gotcha.
also like very hard to like play unconscious while like someone's like
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Uh,
As a mom, that is my nightmare. Of my daughter just moved to one of the hippest, funkiest parts of Nashville, and she loves it, but it's also one of the scariest. And it, like, watching you walk down that little lane by yourself, I was like,
I mean, it's so crazy because I personally, having lived in New York for 10 years, would never, like, I would never walk
thank God.
I would never walk in a park at night. That's just like the city girl in me. It would never. But yeah, it was very fun to film. And I always had a joke before I booked this role is that like every role I booked, I basically was like in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
That was like a lot of my, even if I was doing like SVU where it wasn't necessarily like a hospital show, I just ended up in a hospital bed.
Right.
I think people feel very sorry for me. And I usually end up, or I used to end up in those types of roles. So that was, yeah, it was definitely funny, but obviously way less medicine heavy than
So you didn't have that same feeling of like, this isn't correct, because really your scenes in the hospital were more just being interviewed.
Yes, more focused on the police work aspect of it, which I have no idea how any of that.
Thankfully, I'm glad to hear that.
How awesome is Mariska Hargitay?
Oh, she's amazing. Like I only had one scene with her where they find me in the park, and she's so powerful, so kind, such a great leader. What a wonderful number one for that show.
Man, I just love her. I love the victim advocacy work that she has done, that she's taken this role and she's turned it into positive real world gains for women. And that just, I love that woman to death. I'm not going to turn it around, but I have one of those like prayer candles that's got her on it. Like, yeah, this is
so
like
funny.
the Virgin Mary, but it says like Saint Olivia Benson. Anyway, all right.
One of the most beautiful things that we love about your character is, as Mandy was talking about just a few minutes ago, is your compassion for your patients. And I know sometimes that would get you into a little bit of trouble with Dr. Robbie, but how much guidance were you given for the direction of your character and finding that balance? And then we have a follow-up question from a listener, Kalia Leah, via the Pitt fan page. She wants to know if there's any aspects of Dr. Mohan that you really pushed to make sure was highlighted or represented with your character.
Yeah. So we were given pretty detailed backstories for each character before we even started filming. So I was pretty aware of where she was going to end up going, even though I didn't have all of the episodes. So we would get each episode other than the first three, because we had the first three when we started auditioning. We would get each episode about a week before we started filming. And I would only really get like the concrete details of her arc in that timeline. But as to knowing that, okay, she's this workaholic and she's probably going to have this like not great moment towards the end of the season, knowing that there's going to be this incredibly traumatic event that happens around episodes 12 and 13. That was something I like really wanted to play. And I think a big thing for me that I wanted to make sure was included, that I was pushing for, was I wanted to make sure people still had empathy for her.
Okay.
Which I think like really came to a head in 15. Like I really wanted to make sure that, and I think this comes back to like how people think of doctors, right? People might really love their doctor, but not really see them as a person. Like that doctor could have been crying in the bathroom right before.
The toll that it takes on.
The toll that it takes. And that was something I really wanted to emphasize, because I think absolutely, it's portrayed in so many ways throughout the show, through so many characters. But I think with her, it was very important to me because I think she gives so much of herself to her patients, because really have anything else like going for her, which I think a lot of doctors at that stage in their careers, like that's something that a lot of them do tend to experience, because it's so all consuming. Like it is just careers that just takes up all of your life until maybe you hit like a point of stability. So that was always a thing that Scott wanted to explore, but it was definitely something I was like pushing for to make sure that it was included.
We talked a lot about that too, about how one of the amazing things about this show is it really, at least for me, I know for the first time, it really made me think about the fact, like you said, that your doctors are human beings. And I've never considered, especially in emergency medicine, how many little traumas and major traumas, not just trauma in the literal sense, but like trauma to their own emotional well-being. I got to think like part of what you were talking about that would lead doctors to have that all-consuming absorption in their career early on is not just what you have to do to get to be a full-fledged doctor, because they demand that of you, but also I got to think it gives you like this sense of you have a calling and a passion, and you are literally saving people's lives. So I got to think when you're in that zone, it probably makes you feel all powerful. And like that scene that you had at the end where you had that crash, that was an art. It was so great how they did that, because they go so little into your personal lives in there, that showing that arc over all of those 18 episodes or 15 episodes, it was masterful. It was really wonderful. And you did a great job.
Oh, thanks much.
So let's move down to the next question. Something that makes this show so impressive is how it tackles real world issues in such an honest and real way. Was there a particular storyline that you found you enjoyed being part of more than any other?
Well, I mean, I think the mercury poisoning storyline was so interesting to me because I remember reading it initially and being like I had this knee-jerk reaction of like, this is ridiculous. And then I had to like even take a second and think about, because I grew up in India, how many women apply like skin lightening creams because
Mm-hmm.
they want to look fairer. And for me to even have that knee-jerk reaction of like this wouldn't happen. And then I think about all these unregulated things that I have seen women put on their face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you use these things long enough, like who knows what side effects you might have. And mercury absolutely is one ingredient that a lot of face creams outside of this country use for skin brightening, skin lightening, what have you. It just felt so special to explore that story, but not really have to hammer it home. Like just the sense of like the lengths that women will go to for beauty, like even at the expense of their own health,
Mm-hmm.
unknowingly so. And shining a light even more specifically on colorism in the South Asian community and like how much self-hate there is that can like cause someone to want to lighten their skin color.
Yeah.
It just felt like a really special storyline to be a part of. So I still remember having me, Shabana, and Sasha, who plays the patient, in like the same room together. And it's three South Asian women, and we're not related to each other. We're not even talking about the fact that we're South Asian, but it's still, it is about being South Asian. I just thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, if it's okay, Mandy, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the next question because it's about this particular storyline, and then we can come back and finish talking about the event, the other storylines that you had. But one of our favorite things about the show is the immense amount of diversity that's within the cast, but it's done in such a way that feels natural, not like they're hitting a quota of, okay, well, we need one Black person. It just feels normal, feels right. And Mandy sent me an article where you were talking with the Nod magazine, and you mentioned that cinematographer, and I hope I get her name right, Johanna
Joanna
Coelho.
Coelho, she prefers JoJo.
Jojo, okay. Well, she took photos of y'all to make sure that people with darker skin tones wouldn't wash out against the specific type of wall paint that she found, which is one of the most incredible things that I've ever read about behind the scenes. So,
So I should actually be even a little more specific. If she didn't take photos of us, she would try different shades of white on the walls and then bring in stand-ins who were of different skin tones
Mm-hmm.
and photograph them. And then if the white didn't work, she would try a different shade of white.
wow.
That's dedication.
Wanted to specify the amount of labor she put into that because I mean, it was the first time I saw myself on screen and I was like, oh yeah, that's what I look like when I look in the mirror. Because like there's definitely been other times where I've looked at myself and I've just been like, I don't think I look like that. And then there's just that weird
Yeah.
dysmorphia that comes seeing yourself on screen, looking like how you don't really look, you think. Yeah, it's just I'm just so grateful to her.
Everyone that we've talked to talks about how comfortable everything was on set and how even from the craft services up to the showrunners that it was just everyone had such an amazing experience on set. And when I read that in the article, I couldn't even imagine how, as a person of color, how that would have made me feel to think that somebody was out there thinking of something that a lot of people probably wouldn't have given any thought to. So I'm glad to hear that that meant as much to you as I'm sure it did to everyone else that was a part of the show.
And we actually discussed that in the show after that episode. We talked about how, yeah, I noticed that you had three South Asian women in the same room. We had like a moment where we were like, man, that must have felt great to just have that moment and no one's talking about India or Iran or anything like that. That's just part of it. And one of the things like Becky and I talk about is how they did diversity in this show without it feeling like a very special episode, or like Becky said, like they're shoehorning in the one Indian character in there, that it's much more like a large city in the United States, that it's a melting pot. And the reality is it has a higher incident of people of color in it. And that gets left out so often. So, and then I read an article where you talked about that. So I love that you felt that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I totally did. And also, to add on to what you were saying, I mean, yes, John and Scott and Noah wanted the show to be really diverse, but I think they also feel very passionately about the hyper realistic nature of it. And I mean, like they're trying to show what an ER looks like if you were to walk in.
It's realism.
It's realism. And I think they did such a good job with that. I still remember the first day that we had our medical boot camp, they said, look around the cast, you'll notice that it's mostly women, not so many men. That is true to life of what an ER looks like. There's a higher incidence of women in the ER as care professionals. Like it's about 60%, I think, than men. So who does it even serve to like have it be?
Well, we know who it serves.
Like well, sure, but it's like, have it be like an 80-20 split, like in this like TV show, when that's not even true to life of like what you as a patient coming in would see in an ER.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people who are opponents of diversity miss out on, is that no one is asking them to live in a fantasy world where people of all different ethnicities, sexualities, religions aren't high achieving people. It's not that you're trying to force anything that's not already part of, you're just trying to level the playing field so that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. Because sometimes I'm like, have you been outside? Like,
we talked about this. Becky, was it last episode when we were, I can't remember, but we were talking about during the election when people were talking about Kamala Harris and how, well, sometimes she talks this way and sometimes she talks that way. Or, how can she be Black if she's also got these white parents? And I'm like, is this your first day here? Like, do you not know what?
Like biracial people.
Yeah.
Have you never heard of code switching, which is something that every single one of us does throughout our entire day, depending on the setting you're in? It's ridiculous. Anyway, okay, I'll go back to the question that we were on, because it's a fan that we've had a follow-up question from fans. Awesome Frisbee, great name, via Reddit, says, were you aware of all of the episodes, which I think you've kind of already answered, when you started working on the project, and when did you learn the mass shooting event was going to happen?
So we knew something was going to happen to extend the shift. Pretty early on, we were kind of like, shifts are usually 12 hours and this is 15 episodes. Like things not adding up here unless they get rid of all of us by episode 12, which I mean, I knew I was signed on for 15 episodes. I was like, I wonder what's going to happen. And initially the writers were kind of playing it close to their chest. I think especially because it's a new show, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if HBO is going to have notes. You don't know if Max is going to have notes, what have you. So I think they wanted to make sure it was set in stone before they told us. And I want to say by the time it was like episode 2 or 3, we were all aware that an MCI incident was going to happen that was going to be very heavily based on the Las Vegas shooting. So I think we kind of knew that it was going to be test as well.
We wondered about that.
A lot of the traumas that you see from episodes 12, 13, 14, they're mostly based off of real cases from the Las Vegas shooting.
That makes so much sense, because that was a massive mass casualty. As horrible as it is in our country, you don't see mass casualties on that scale very often. So I had wondered about that.
Yeah. And it's awful. And I won't say who, but there was actually someone on our set who was in that.
Wow. No. Bless them.
I always told them like, hey, if you need to like sit out, because like we're not doing like a fantasy version of this. Like it's so hyper realistic.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty good about like knowing their own boundaries and stuff. But I mean, it's just like even the fact that this like random show in Los Angeles, there was someone who had experienced like the specific mass casualty that we'd like based it on. I mean, it's like welcome to America.
Yeah, man, that's just how it's getting to be. Is it's like, will it be when we finally have so many people that almost every one of us has been touched horribly by this? that we start getting serious. I don't know, but I actually don't find it that crazy, unfortunately, that in this day and age. To go back to just a little bit further, though, I do want to say my favorite storyline that you had was with the two women who, and the one had sickle cell
I
disease.
loved you in that so much.
I learned so much.
That's where we fell in love with Dr. Mohan. It just one of my favorite things that I loved so much watching your character grow throughout the season. And it blows my mind that all of that was in one day. And but what not you watching Taylor Dearden, Whitaker, all of them, everyone changing over the course of one shift. But that was when we feel like, even though Dr. Robbie laid into you about how much time you were spending with that patient, but it's like you were such a,
which we were not happy
no,
about.
we were not. You can listen to any of those episodes anytime we had your back. But it just was so beautiful watching you educate, not only help this woman recognize that she was being racially profiled, basically. Nobody was listening to her because they assumed because of her race she was a drug seeker. And then the way you educated Whitaker, and then the way they wrote the show later on, pairing you two together again with the father of the wedding, who was an obvious drug. I was just wow! Oh my gosh! Oh, it's so amazing.
Yeah, and what was really special about that moment where we recognized that this person was this father was drug seeking, was literally in the same position where I educated him about Joyce, the same position in the hospital. So I just love that like mirror image.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
This thing we've talked so much about, one of the things we loved about it is how they show that not just the ways that we need to be kinder to doctors, really, because of the traumas and things that they go to, but also that we as consumers of healthcare need to be aware, because no one was off limits. Like I saw them portray bias from almost every single character, your favorites, the ones you liked, the ones you didn't like, almost all of them. They had some kind of storyline where they showed that doctors are humans and they absolutely can be prone to their own biases. And that's something I think more of us need to be aware of and advocate for ourselves when we are in healthcare, is being able to recognize that and not be gaslit.
100%. I always felt like the show was a big case study on bias.
Yeah, same.
There's moments where like it's even asking the audience to think about their own biases.
For sure. Yeah, they did that as well. But the last question I've got here, the follow-up, is from another listener, Luja Baby, via Reddit as well. Any wish list of medical cases or character interactions for Mohan next season?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think because I would have graduated, I would think, because I've heard that I like, listen, I'm hearing about what's going to happen next season, the same as you from Deadline.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard anything. But I have heard, like you guys, that's going to be 10 months later, and I would have graduated. So I'm really hoping she's able to like get down in the dirt with some really gross cases.
So does Becky.
Yeah. I love the gross.
So now that she's a senior resident and has proven herself through the mass casualty incident that she can take on crazy things. I would hope that she gets to deal with some gross things. And I also would hope that I have more scenes with McKay, Dr. McKay.
Love her.
Yeah, I mean, Fiona's so talented and so amazing. And I feel like we only had 2 actual scenes together where we were interacting.
Yeah, not many.
Not many.
I think it's because you were both the good doctors, the kind doctors, the more open-minded. Like, it's not that your characters were very similar, but maybe just until they fleshed you out more.
No, absolutely. No, I hear what you're saying in that she's occupying some similar archetypes to me.
Yeah.
She's so talented. And I feel like I learn watching her act. I mean, she's had such a long career. So I'd love to.
Well, I think at this point, they fleshed out both of your characters so much that you see that there are some incidental overlaps, but they are 2 very different doctors and very different people.
I wish Mohan had an ankle monitor.
Yeah. Never say never. She was a different person by the end of that shift.
We don't know what's going to happen after you have that beer in the park.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen either. It's so weird how it's like Like the weirdest thing about being an actor is you're kind of waiting for someone to put words in your mouth. Like, I could have my own ideas, but it's like someone's made a decision already for this character, and I'm just trying to figure out what it is. So yeah, I'm excited to find out what it is. Scott is so talented. Everyone on the show is so talented as a team. I just can't believe I got so lucky and I get to make art with them.
And you have probably, it sounds like you have a lot of faith in whatever journey that they're going to take Mohan on. It's going to be a good one.
I mean, look, they created her. I embodied her, but ultimately I was working off a blueprint that they gave me. So
Right.
Such a good job with her in season 1. I'm so excited for season 2.
Well, you
Same.
definitely breathed life into her, but it's awesome to hear that she was already like very well formed on the page. And so you were born in the United States, but then you moved back to Delhi when you were very young and then didn't come back here until college. I've already told you I have a little bit of a crush on Indian culture. So I have so many questions about that. Like when you were in India, did you feel like an American living in India? And then when you came back here, how was the experience of being an Indian American? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, it's so interesting. I did feel like an American living in India. Like even the first 3 years that I spent in the US just felt super formative. And I sounded a little bit like this when I got to India. And so people would, I mean, it was hard to make friends initially because I didn't really speak the language. I spoke with a little bit of an accent. And so people didn't really want to hang out with me. I think I had like 2 friends in kindergarten.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I was like a weirdo. But then I was able to pick up the accent, the language a little bit more and had a really great time. I mean, the food in Delhi is so amazing. The theater scene in Delhi is so amazing. That's really where I started acting mainly. And yeah, it was really lovely. But what was really interesting about coming back to the US, I mean, I ended up dropping my accent or learning how to drop my accent, code switching in a way.
yeah.
So I could audition for several types of roles. That was mainly why I did it. But what was very interesting about coming back here is suddenly I was brown. You know what I mean? Like it's like when you're,
Well,
when
I
you're
don't,
in,
but
Yes.
I mean, when you're in America or when you're in India and you're surrounded by a lot of South Asian people. I mean, I'm not like trying to paint it as this utopia. India has its own problems like colorism and stuff that I dealt with. Like I was considered like ugly because I was too dark, which is like insane because I'm not even on the darker side of like how dark Indian skin can get. Just goes to show like how absurd colorism standards are there. But yeah, I mean, coming here all of a sudden it was like I was brown.
yeah.
You know, I had to deal with like my race in a very different way and deal with being perceived in a very different way that I wasn't used to back home. So that was definitely very strange. And that was also strange because like all of a sudden it was like the only characters I could play would have to be ones that I guess the industry would be okay with being South Asian,
Mhm.
which is something I still deal with and I'm like frustrated by because like I remember back home in India where it was just like anyone, well, I mean, not really anyone. India has its own racism problem,
Right.
but like with the level of privilege I was afforded in India, it was like I was able to do so much. And then suddenly coming here and then feeling very restricted by that also felt very strange.
And that your culture has to be part of every conversation, even hopefully positive ones like this. Yeah, I've got to think that gets old.
No, I listen, I'm so proud of being South Asian. I'm so proud of being Indian. Like the good conversations like this, I love having. The parts where it gets frustrating is where it feels like it's a limiting thing
Right.
in everything I want to be able to do. There's so many dreams I have. And I feel frustrated that some of the reasons why people would say no to some of those dreams is because they just don't want to deal with why a South Asian person would be playing this role or doing that or having to explain. And I'm like, you don't need to explain
There's
it. Like,
no
again,
need. Right.
like South Asian people exist and there's so many types of us and we do so many different things, good and bad. And so
It's very difficult for me to understand that people might look at you and think they're anything gorgeous. But again, I've already said I think Indian women are beautiful. But I have one of my best friends is Iranian, and she has an Iranian nose, kind of a bump here, and she's absolutely stunningly beautiful. When she would go home and because her own family like really pressured her to get a nose job, and she refuses to do it because it's crazy.
then I'm right there with her. And pro tip, if she ever feels like she's like swayed by something and she wants to get a nose job, just tell her to look up like what a nose job looks like. Like look at the surgical video of like what they do
It's horrifying.
Most of the women in her family have had them. I mean, she is well aware, and we're both, Becky and I are both in our late 40s. So is Zara. She's in her late 40s. She is not interested in trying to be anyone's archetype of anything. She has some of the same experiences you do. And I know we need to move on, but just I wanted to point out that I can feel a little of the frustration it must be like to have something that's just part of your character be part of almost every conversation that you have.
Oh, for sure. But please tell your friend that I think her nose is sexy.
She's gorgeous.
She is beautiful and just amazing too. So I know we're running out of time and there's a couple of listener questions I want to make sure we get in. And this is my favorite one that we got. And this is from Allie_CH via the Pitt fan page. Was the cast actually using hand sanitizer or did they give you moisturizer in those machines? And I love this question because I hate dry hands. That is what would kill me in a zombie apocalypse is dry hands and dry lips. I would just kill over because I couldn't take it. So yeah, what's the scoop?
Real hand sanitizer.
Oh,
your hands must have been bleeding.
No. I made sure, thank you, Mary, my makeup artist, she would always have hand cream for me every morning. And that she would have it in her bag when she would come to set. So I would always just make sure I was moisturizing. I don't know if anyone else did that, but I was like, I will not have dry hands from the hand sanitizer.
I love it.
Listener Mountain Button 9897.
Isn't that amazing name?
I need to know what that's about. Mountain Button 9897 via Reddit wants to know if there are any other upcoming films or shows we might see you in soon.
Oh, well, I'm currently in a play in San Diego. It's a world premiere. We just found out we got extended.
Yay!
So I don't know if people will still be able to buy tickets. I'm pretty sure they would be able to for the extension because that just got announced like literally Saturday. It's a wonderful play. It's called House of India. It's about this Indian family in the Midwest trying to save their family restaurant. It's so good. I cannot believe I get to originate this part and this role.
Oh,
I would encourage everyone to see it. But other than that, that's really been taking up my time.
And it's at the Globe Theater.
At the Old Globe in San Diego.
Okay.
Yes.
This is not a question, but listener Maureen, we love you, Maureen, from our Facebook page wants to say that she hopes you will continue acting as you are a natural. And we agree. And it sounds like you're definitely planning to.
Well, I literally have tried to do everything else I possibly could. And so I think, unfortunately, I'm kind of stuck here.
well, we're so grateful. My favorite thing, one of our favorite things has become to check your resume and see what you have listed under special skills. Listed under yours, there's two things I want to ask about. The first is Shakespeare. Tell me how Shakespeare comes into play as a special skill. And I can see by your face. I wish y'all could see her face right now.
I really hope that it means she dresses up like Shakespeare occasionally.
I hope that she just will bust out in Shakespeare dialogue.
It just means I have experience with Shakespeare. A lot of actors don't.
Okay.
Yeah, we did Pericles when I was at Columbia as one of our student plays. So it's like shorthand for like that's what it means. But that's a good question.
I wish we had more time because I'd like to get into the difference between theater and television, but we don't.
Well, maybe hopefully this won't be the last time we talk.
Oh.
Now that you're in the same city, it's my dream to have you and Ambar on an episode together.
Oh, I love Ambar. She's so great.
She's a sweetheart. Well, Becky, watercolors.
So yes, I saw that you said you listed drawing, painting, and designing under your special skills. My dad got me into watercoloring several years ago. It's become a very big part of my therapy.
She's good.
And thank you. And so I was just wondering, what do you enjoy painting and what is it that you like to design?
I will be upfront in that I'm not very good at it. Like I'm very good at like making something look good, but I feel so hesitant about putting my stuff up because it doesn't look tasteful. I don't know if that makes sense.
It doesn't meet your standard yet.
Yeah, that doesn't meet my standard of what I want to put up. But I love drawing people in my life. Like I love drawing cat and my friends. Like, if I love you, I've probably drawn you.
So we can
and that
expect pictures of us soon, is what you're saying?
listen, if I had my watercolor pens with me, I would.
Let me put some lipstick on next time. I have no lips without it.
I'll email you some photos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it's mainly for me. It's like one of the skills I have that I haven't monetized. I've like monetized pretty much everything else or like tried to. So yeah, it is like one of the things that I do just for me.
Awesome.
Same with Becky. She is very, I mean, for considering she just started doing this like a year ago, I'm so impressed with her watercolor. It's just beautiful. I know that's a really hard medium to work in. So it's even more impressive to me that
Yeah, it dries so fast. It's so hard to work with.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I think that has made it so great for me as far as therapy goes is that patience, and I have to wait on something to completely dry before I start the next layer. And patience has never been a top skill of mine. So I think that may be why it calms me down so much.
I am right there with you. That was the hardest thing to play about Samira. She is like a very patient person. I personally am not. So I had to like, like create like the list of like, I am like this, but I'm also not like,
Did you have like any kind of like meditative thing that you did before to get into her head?
I mean, honestly, like putting the costume on felt very meditative. And then like the props that I had on, like something about the weight of like the stethoscope on me and everything that I had in my pockets.
Yeah.
Like I go like, okay, now I'm Samira. I mean, almost everyone on the cast was in charge of like, getting themselves like propped up. And I think for everyone, like that act of like putting everything
That's smart.
on. Yeah, makes sense.
And I want to say by the end of that shift, you still absolutely looked radiant. I know you were tired. I know you were
That's
broke
crazy.
down, but I remember you looking at yourself in the bathroom mirror before you cried. I was like, she looks amazing. How has that woman gone through all of this and she still looks absolutely stunning?
She's like sweating, like in a flop sweat, and she's dewy.
The beautiful curls framing your face when you're working with Dr. Abbott. I'm like,
yes.
I love and hate you all at the same time right now.
Trying to look messy.
Well, you looked beautiful, messy, whatever, because you're gorgeous.
You're a very blessed lady.
Thank you so
much. Well, I know you need to go. So real quick, lastly, where can our listeners find you? And are there any causes, pages, or anything else that you want everyone to know about?
So you can find me on Instagram at Supriya Ganesh _. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. Twitter at Supriya Ganesh. And I think like going off the show, I just really I want people to find organizations that deal with sickle cell, support them, donate to them. They're freaking amazing. There's something called the Elm Project that helps sickle cell children by putting them in a summer camp and giving them like this summer camp experience that they may not be afforded all the time.
What was that called?
The Elm Project.
Okay.
That's really lovely. Also really want to highlight an organization called Don't Clock Out. If you're a medical professional and listening to this and you're dealing with burnout, this organization is really great at helping people helping doctors and medical professionals deal with the mental toll a profession like this can take. So just shouting that out there if anyone does need that resource. But yeah, I guess that's all I got right now.
Awesome. Well, we will make sure to put links to your social media in our show notes, and I'll also add the play you're in, and I'll add links to both the Elm Project and the Don't Clock Out organization for people to have a quick reference to. Thank you. I wish we had more time, and I really do hope that as time permits, maybe before season 2 comes out or after season 2, at some point you'll come back and talk with us again. Thank you so much. This has really been amazing.
Have fun tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, fingers crossed. This has been really great. I mean, I'd love to be back. My schedule's just like all over.
Oh, we understand. Yeah, just anytime.
Thank you so much.
that wraps up our interview with the wonderful Supriya Ganesh. We will be recording on May 10th our season 1 recap of The Pitt. Keep an eye out for our feedback post and be on the lookout for information on what show we're covering next.
Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
And I'm Supriya. Thank you for listening.
We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.